May I now call upon Mr. Ahmed Tohow, Chair of the Board of Directors of the Global Somali Diaspora. He's currently the Director of the East Africa Security and Policy Forum, to please share his thoughts with us. Mr. Tohow.
Thank you. Distinguished guests, government representatives, diplomats, academics, respected ILC organizers, UPF volunteers, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor to be invited to the International Leadership Conference in this beautiful city, Manila, Philippines. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Just want to continue the topic of achieving sustainable peace and development in Asia Pacific by applying multilateral challenges and opportunities. The political and strategic environment of the Asia Pacific region is currently entering a new period of great power competition that has been driven by increasing levels of rivalry between the United States and China, and fueled in part by deterioration of relations between the United States and Russia. In addition to territorial disputes over South China Sea, this has also resulted in increasing levels of competition between China on one hand and the United States, Australia, and New Zealand on the other hand, for political and economic influence over smaller Pacific island nations. The other potential flashpoints that have the potential of influence conflict in the region and that are the territorial disputes of Taiwan, Formosa, Kuril Island, and Aksai Chin, Hotan County, and Hutong County, area between India and China. It's also important not to disregard the potential disruption that may occur as a result of climate change, nuclear proliferation, and even trade wars, with latter arising because of domestic political economic pressure, or even sparked because of conflict tension in other parts of the world, such as Russia-Ukraine conflict. This poses the question of whether Asia-Pacific region can sustain another generation of exceptional peace and economic growth in the face of unprecedented geopolitical change. The answer, this can be yes, if the continued effort is to put into building economic cooperation, which includes genuine political dialogue and cultural exchange. Such efforts, while challenged by the scale, both historic and more contemporary rivalries and problems, can be succeeds if they include participation of not just national level elites, but also business, civil society, and diaspora populations. Only through such genuine multilateral effort can the Asia-Pacific region avoid further escalation of political and military rivalry, which already threatens the stability, peace, and economic prosperity of its nations and peoples. I will go through some challenges facing Asia-Pacific. A rapid political and economic shift. The countries of Asia-Pacific are grappling with demographic changes, economic transition brought by both technology and climate change, while also having to deal with complex and shifting strategic environment. Rapid economic development necessitates clear ground rules, both law and in terms of social responsibility, so that stakeholders can seek collaborative solutions to new problems and challenges. The region must establish a strong system for management of change and transformation that are flexible to work with both traditional social political power structure and current political system, as well as to navigate between rival great powers. This also includes middle powers such as Australia and New Zealand, which may also seek to act in the interest of their more powerful allies. Increasing strategic competition amongst the region's key actors. As China continues to grow in diplomatic, economic, and military power, other Asia-Pacific nations will need to adjust to the change in power dynamics. This will include the need to try to balance the interest of the world great powers that are active in their countries and the region. In particular, nations in Asia-Pacific will need to balance their interest in the context of growing strong strategic competition between the United States and China. Fragility resulting from trust gap is also amongst something that regional nations need to consider. Historical animosities and current territorial conflict have resulted in trust deficit, with security relations and decision-making significantly impacting by historical views and misconceptions. Military and purchase of advanced technologies on other issues. Rapid technical advances and spread of power military technology in the absence of peaceful dialogue and trust can increase the risk of escalating argument in armed confrontation or even conflict. There are currently inefficient early warning mechanisms for diplomats to share information and intelligence between Asia-Pacific nation states. There are also currently no strong system that can allow for mediation or disputes between Asia-Pacific nations, especially if it involves regional or outside powers. Lack of strong economic policies. Over the past decades, there has been many studies on how politics and implementation of government policy shape poverty within community and smaller Asian nations. For the poorest and most vulnerable, the way in which their government operate makes profound difference in their lives. The incapacity of government institutions in Asia-Pacific to prevent conflict and provide basic security or basic services can have detrimental consequence for their citizens. Even policies that offer to help the poor and enjoy popular support can fail deliver lasting positive outcomes. Poverty, which has many causes, can not only be perpetuated by their failure, but also aggravated by the failure of weak government policies and programs. One reason of these failures can often be a huge gap in understanding of the need of public because of lack of research and poor communication. So what are the solutions? I'll include I'll include and share with you 2 or 3 solutions. One of them is strengthening good governance. The promotion of support of effort to encourage transparency, accountability, inclusion, and participation is one of the solutions that I can include this paper, and also democratization, also improving living condition of population, because it creates jobs and build infrastructure, promote business-friendly policies, and to provide security by supporting reform of the police and the legal institutions. The other previous speaker also talked economic development, so I'm not going to go that further. Diplomacy, to use of diplomacy to attract more allies and isolate threats through marshalling of economic power to facilitate or compel cooperation is another way of addressing or to getting solutions. Address inequality, to bridge the gap between poor and rich, solving issues of inequality between groups, which include acknowledging their grievances and addressing issues with vulnerable people, women, children, religious groups, minorities, and disabled people is also something that need to be considered. Empowering Asia-Pacific diaspora community who are educated and also coming from diaspora and investing on the ground is also something that need to be considered. So public awareness and education is important. Use of diplomatic structure, peace talks and negotiation, it has been already been discussed. Use diplomatic strategy that will keep the momentum peace talks going. Diplomatic framework and peace and security, multilateral, bilateral mediation and negotiation parties in Asia Pacific is also important. So in my, I was told it was 7 to 10 minutes, but my time is already last. So in conclusion, while Asia Pacific region faces significant political and security, economic environment challenges, it is also the nations in Asia Pacific have the tools and the capability to address these issues while carefully utilizing necessary international communities through multilateral, bilateral support through to achieve long-term peace and economic prosperity in Asia Pacific nations. I'll end by saying sometimes common sense and human conventional wisdom does not work sometimes. Whatever we all trying and, trying to bring together in running our government in Asia Pacific and all that, sometimes doesn't work. So it is sometimes a time to do what we always do, to do more prayer and put trust in God is also something important, which is the value and the principles of UPF. Thank you. God bless you. God bless Asia Pacific nations and the rest of the world.